Good evening. You're watching the Punter on Sports Tonight. I'm Trevor Harris. Did you miss me? Probably not. I know you did, Flash.
I certainly did. Yeah, I'm really good, thanks, Trev. Yeah,
good. I want to crack straight into the football because there's so much of it over the weekend and into next week with the Champions League starting. But starting domestically, the early game tomorrow, Norwich City versus West Ham. Maybe not quite the glamorous early live game that we're used to, but it should be a fascinating match nonetheless, and a tricky-ish one for punters maybe.
Yeah, very tricky. I mean, you look at West Ham, they obviously Carroll coming in, they've scored 3 goals and they think they're on the up. Now, if you want one game to then travel away to, it's probably Norwich, who are everyone's favourites for relegation. So, for me, I think West Ham can get something out of the game. Yeah,
no Carroll tomorrow, he's injured. What's your view of Grant Holt? Because I watched him quite a lot last season and I was sort of sucked initially into this media thing. He's a big target man, which he kind of is, but I think he's got a good feet. I think he's a better player than some give him credit for.
I've known him obviously since he was a baby when he was at Sheffield Wednesday, and he's done so well to elevate himself through the ranks. But you always get the second season syndrome, because people know how to play him. They'll stop crosses at source, they'll get tight to him, do not let him get on the back post and get a jump on you. And I think he'll find it tough this year.
West Ham have got, 6 points, which is maybe, if I was being slightly facetious, 6 more than some people thought they would have at this stage. They were amongst the bookies' favourites to go down. They've been this yo-yo club for a while, haven't they? But there's been enough evidence probably already to suggest they may survive this time.
I think they'll be fine. They were not one of my bottom 3 because Sam knows how to get it done, and whether it's now or whether it's in the transfer window in the Christmas, I just think that they've got enough. And then with Andy Carroll coming in, I think he just plays to their strengths. Jarvis on the right. I mean, they've got everything they need.
All right, well, let's check the odds for this game then, and we can say hello for the first time to the Bet Butler. How are you, Nigel?
Good evening, guys. I mean, I miss you, Trev. I mean,
Thank you.
Trevor, I mean, Dan Rover was a great guy, but he's not family like you, Trevor. He's not like the Sports Tonight family. I really missed you, mate. I tell you what. This game here is a very, very tricky match for punters to score, isn't it? You've got Norwich, a team that really, everyone thinks is going to go down. They're very, very good at home. Like the last season, their home form really, really got them out of trouble. You know, when really they were in a little bit of trouble towards the end of last season, they got through from their home form. And West Ham was so good away from home last season. This season's very, very different matter. The way they go in the Premier League, different than going to the Championship. But I'll tell you what, I think the value's on the draw. I think 9-4 here, the draw is huge, huge value. I think 9-4 is a decent bet. I think Norwich have drawn their last 2 games, both 1-1 in the Premier League. They obviously won in the Capital One Cup. West Ham, I think their home form will be the thing that's going to get them out of trouble this season. But I think all the value here is on the draw at 9-4. I personally think there's not much between the two sides. And in the end of the season, I think there's probably about 2 or 3 placings between them at the end of the season table. So that means the draw at 9-4 represents first-rate value for me in this match.
I've been away for a month. He's still sitting on the fence. He always does that. He's gone for the draw first up. Let's move on to QPR Chelsea, Flash, because, I mean, this game's been dominated, hasn't it, by all this handshake nonsense, Terry, Ferdinand, will they, won't they, Ashley Cole. But let's look at the game itself, because last season, Chelsea came to grief here, didn't they, and had 2 sent off as well.
They did, and I've gone for Queen's Park Rangers again, and I just think that sometimes the international break comes at the wrong time. I think for Queen's Park Rangers, it came exactly at the right time. Yeah. Their season starts tomorrow, and if you wanted to start your season off with a massive bang and get on a high very quickly, it's to play your near neighbours, Chelsea. And for me, Chelsea, I don't think they're going to enjoy playing on such a tight surroundings. So for me, I think that Queen's Park Rangers are massive value.
We'll get the price in a minute. Just let me ask you about Chelsea's start to the season, because 3 games, 3 wins. Does that flatter them a little bit, do you think?
A little bit, but again, you've got to still beat what's in front of you. I mean, let's go with Wigan first of all. They were 2-0 up inside 8 minutes and then got battered for 80. Wigan obviously very, very good on the day. Then they played Reading. Reading were 2-1 up, and then they had a goal against them that was offside. Yeah. Then the keeper threw one in, and then the last goal was when they all went forward, and obviously a bit of naivety showed. So again, you could have said that they didn't deserve to win that game neither.
And then Newcastle didn't turn up, did they, against Chelsea?
No, and that was a big surprise. That was probably their toughest game of the first 3, and they just rolled them over so simply. That was probably their easiest performance. But now, again, international break, nearly every Chelsea player would have been away this week. I know you always fear. It's almost like coming back after the European campaign on the weekend. I think they'll find this very, very tough, and especially if QPR are at it.
Well, we don't know yet whether John Terry's even going to play, because, of course, he missed the England game injured. But let's get the odds with the Butler. And I would imagine QPR are a pretty big price, Nigel, are they?
They are a big price, and I think they're a great value at the price they are. Around about 4-1, 7-2 here, but Blue Square. But they're big as 4-1, 9-2 with other bookmakers. They are absolutely great value. Look at their record last season season at home against the top teams. They won. It was where they played the Norwiches and the Swanseas of this world. That's where they come a cropper. And the Boltons, they famously lost, obviously 4-0 in the first day of the season. At home against the big teams, they do the business. 7-2 is an absolute massive, massive price. The draw 13-5. Who would back Chelsea at 8-11 on what they performed last week against Atletico Madrid? Absolutely dismal. A terrible performance. This is a big, big game for QPR, local rivals, and at 7-2, the value call is QPR. Now, obviously, last season they won 1-0, 2 players sent off. They hang on. But if you look at their record, they beat Liverpool. They're exceptionally well against Manchester City. I can see this atmosphere, the crowd behind them. QPR will trade short than 7-2, and at that price, they're an absolute massive bet. Get on QPR at 7-2. I'm a QPR fan, by the way.
I never would have guessed. It's one of the biggest prices on the coupon this week in the Premier League. 7-2 QPR. To beat Chelsea at Loftus Road. Stoke City versus Manchester City. Stoke, of course, have added Michael Owen to their squad. Probably won't play tomorrow. What's your assessment of that signing? Because it'd be an interesting partnership, him and Crouch.
Yeah, I think he's one of them that's going to be an impact in the last 20-25 minutes when either they're looking for a winner. I mean, he's just a natural goal scorer. He is the original fox in the box.
And you never lose that, do you? However old you get, you never lose that instinct.
No, because, I mean, we could still play now if it meant we only had to play in the 18-yard box. And that's what he'll be asked to do. He'll be asked to get in and around Crouch. Walter's on one side. He's got he's got plenty guns there to supply ammunition. So for me, I think that it will be good, but he won't be starting many games.
And what about City, the way they've started the season? 2 wins and a draw, can't do too much better.
No, but they could have played better. That's the big thing for me. I think that obviously the biggest thing is they've not had no clean sheets. So they now need to make sure they get a clean sheet. I don't think they'll get a clean sheet against Stoke. And I've got this game as a draw, and I'd like to lay Man City.
OK, that's probably a decent bet, because I would imagine City are odds on, are they, Nigel?
Well, they are. They're very, very short price to win this game. If you look at the records, 4-6, the same kind of price as Chelsea are away at Queen's Park Rangers. Now, I'll tell you what, Stoke have played 3 games this Premier League campaign, drawn the lot. The last 5 games have been draws. Manchester City, the last 3 times they played Stoke, has been 1-1 draw. So all points to the draw, 13-5. Absolute first-rate value. You say I'm sitting on the fence. OK, I might sit on the fence. I might say, but the draw's a big price. It's always sometimes a bigger price. Obviously, this occasion, Stoke at home 4-1 is a bigger price than the draw. But it represents value. Manchester City will look at this. It's a point on the board. They'll take it. We'll take a point and move on our season. Man City at 4-6 are one of the worst value bets on the coupon this weekend. The draw 13-5 represents fantastic value. All the stats scream the draw. Stoke have drawn every game in the Premier League. Last 3 have been draws at 1-1, and at 1-1 the correct score around about 6-1. That's a fantastic bet. I'm a draw all the way here. You might say I'm boring. You might say I'm sitting on the fence, but I tell you what, it's what pays the bills. Draw 13-5 is definitely. I'm very happy to take my stance on the bench.
Okie dokie, you get splinters in your whatever, but still. Let's move to Villa Swansea. Swansea sitting proudly in second place, albeit an embryonic table. Villa had a poor start.
Yeah, they've been really poor, and until I tipped up Newcastle to absolutely smash them 2 Sundays ago, and I saw a different Villa. Villa really worked hard. They worked as a unit. They closed down in packs, and that's exactly what Paul Lambert would have gone and wanted. Now, Bent didn't actually score on the day, but he looked lively, and there was plenty of opportunities for him. Now, Ragbonahor's fit as well. I think that I'm going to go for Villa here. I'm going to buck the trend. Although Swansea have been outstanding, I think they'll struggle with Villa's work rate.
Has Swansea's start surprised you?
Massively. I thought Swansea would be one of them that would be second season syndrome. I thought they'd go down, and they've been absolutely outstanding. Laudrup's just got in the bus. He's used the same pedals, the same steering wheel as Brendan Rodgers. Not really changed anything. Brought in a couple of unbelievable buys, and they've hit the ground running. Michu from midfield, £2 million. He scored 4 in 3. Yeah, can't get better than that.
Yeah, indeed. OK, let's have a look at the odds. And I would imagine Villa will be favourites here, Nigel, but probably odds against, are they?
Not as short as you would expect. I mean, let's be fair. With betting, you have to turn around and say, right, what is value? Now, if this game was played 3 or 4 weeks ago, throughout the season, Swansea were favourites to go down. Aston Villa expected to do well under Paul Lambert. You'll be looking at odds of 10-11 Aston Villa. In 3 games, does it really warrant 10-11 into 7-5? That's a huge difference. 7-5 represents huge value for Aston Villa here. Swansea at 15-8. OK, they're doing well. They're 15-8. They're a good price. But away from home, they're not as good as they are at home. Their home form last season got them into the lofty position they finished up. The draw 9-4. But it's all about Villa here. Realistically, are they that bad? Have they gone from 10-11 to 7-5 in 2 or 3 weeks? I don't think so. There's a huge overreaction in Aston Villa today in this match, and 7-5 represents huge value in my opinion.
It's quite interesting, isn't it, Flash, that we were only 3 games into the new season, and odds do start to change quite dramatically, not just match odds, but outright odds. I'm not sure we've seen enough evidence yet, have we, to really, just make those firm conclusions that the initial prices were wrong.
No, the only way you can do that is when good teams start well. When there's teams that you had question marks about start well, then all of a sudden people want to overreact like they have done with Swansea and likes of West Bromwich Albion. But for me, I'm thinking Villa, they're going to work hard, they're going to match up beautifully because they want time on the ball, Swansea, and they're not going to get it, especially at home. There's a real opportunity here for Villa to get their first 3 points of the season.
Plenty of punters were tipping Swansea to go down at the start of the season. I don't think that's going to happen from what I've seen.
It's early days. Well, the other thing is, let me give you a little stat, a little bit of instinct. Bolton went to Queen's Park Rangers, first game of the season, 1-4-0, went down. Swansea went to Queen's Park Rangers, 1-5-0.
Yeah. Funny the way football sometimes works like that. Plenty more football to come when we come back, so stay with us. You're watching The Punter on Sports Tonight, and you are very welcome indeed. Now, as an Arsenal fan, I was kind of quite relieved when Robin van Persie went away on international duty with the Dutch, and as always happened when he was at Arsenal, he came back injured. So he may not play tomorrow. We know there's no Rooney either, but neither of their absences or potential absences should stop United beating Wigan at home, should it?
No, I think Man United will win. I just want to see Man United keep a clean sheet, because at the moment...
Yes, like City.
Again, I think that their main objective this year is just to win games and not try and be really patient and flash. I mean, they were awful in back four against Southampton, and against a stronger Southampton or a stronger side than Southampton, they would have got beat. So
and they weren't crash shot against Fulham either defensively, were they?
No, they weren't, and there's been plenty of warning signs there. But again, I fancy Man United will get the job done. Although Wigan are going to be up there this year.
Well, you fancy United. I'm sure the bookies do. 1-4-ish, are they, Nigel? Something like that.
Yeah, they're very, very short. The shortest price favourites on the coupon this weekend, and I don't see any reason why they can't win the game. 1-4 to win the game, 4-1 the draw, 14-1 Wigan. The last 4 games, I think or 5 games these teams played, Manchester United are 1-0. Now, if you like, you're sort of betting back Manchester United to win 2-0. There's no way Wigan are going to score a goal at Old Trafford. No chance whatsoever. You can back that around about 4-6. That's a great bet. Manchester United will win the game, and they will win it to 0. It'll be 2-0, 3-0, maybe 1-0. But the thing is, they will break them down. Wigan will look at this game and think, we know we're going to lose, but they've got bigger fish to fry. We've got games against QPR coming up. We've got games against the lesser teams, and that is where their whole season hinges on how they do on these games. They know they're going to lose 3 points here. Manchester United 4 on. They'll be the cornerstone of every single accumulator this weekend. They will win. Draw 4-1, 14-1 Wigan, but back Man United to win 2-0 because they will.
Yeah, possibly one for the accumulators, as may be Arsenal, who are at home to Southampton at the Emirates. Haven't conceded yet, Arsenal. I just wonder whether Steve Bowles' arrival has improved that defence, Flash.
Yeah, it has, without a shadow of doubt. We said on the first game we'd seen evidence of that against Sunderland, and then the week after, as soon as I saw 3 boys in a line, hands went up together. They played. They played. It was unbelievable.
The full Monty moment.
Yeah, we spoke to Nigel Winterburn about it as well, and you can just see that it's just a prototype that's now come back, and that was the main reason they were our naps against Liverpool as well. So, I mean, Arsenal will win tomorrow. I expect maybe Southampton will score because they do offer a threat in Lambert, Lallana. But I think Arsenal, and I think there'll be a minimum of 4 goals here. I think it could be a 3-1, 4-0 Arsenal. OK, so maybe some value on the overs. On the outright match odds, Nigel, I suspect the Gunners similar price to United, are they? Very, very short price, as you expect. Their record here is phenomenal. They've only lost 1 in 39 matches against Southampton, going back a long, long time. But surprisingly, they're a bigger price than Manchester United. I think this is an easier task. I think Arsenal at home against Southampton is an easier task than Manchester United at home to Wigan. 2-7 here you can get. 9-1 Southampton, 4-1 the draw. I do agree with Flash. I think there's goals. I think Arsenal obviously are so good at the back now. I don't think they'll concede any goals, but I think they'll score lots and lots of goals. But I think it might take you a bit of time to break this Southampton team down. I think they're set the stall out to defend. And you look at when Arsenal played the likes of Blackpool when they've come into the division and other teams have come into the Premier League, it takes them a bit of time to break them down. And that crowd gets a bit anxious. But once they open up the gates after about 50 minutes, the floodgates open. I think Arsenal to be drawing at half-time and winning at full-time is a fantastic bet in this match. I think Arsenal will win, but I'm looking at angles to save you a few quid rather than back in the 2-7. So I'm going for Arsenal
to be a draw at half-time and Arsenal to win at full-time.
Yeah, been tough for Saints, hasn't it, Flash? The only team without a point so far.
Yeah, and none of us expected a point because they've played Man City away, Man United at home, Arsenal away tomorrow, and Wigan at home. Now, the Wigan at home came on their Premiership debut, which you then knew that they were going to overcommit, get hit on the break. Who do you not want to play? Wigan, because Wigan will hit you on the break every time. Just a quick price stat here is Southampton were 12-1 at home against Manchester United, but they're 9-1 for the away against Arsenal. So this is where we're saying they're not quite got to grips with Southampton. Southampton don't know how to defend, by the way. They attack from full-back areas, and they will get picked off very, very comfortably by the likes of Kofola, Podolski and Giroud. I think Giroud will score tomorrow.
Right, okay, well, he's overdue a goal, that's for sure. Now, this is one of the most difficult games on the coupon, I think, in the Premier League. Fulham versus West Brom. Fulham started the season okay, then they had that really poor result against West Ham. West Brom are one of those sides that are fiendishly difficult to predict. You never quite know how they're going to play.
No, West Brom are another side that I actually tipped to go down. And I said that give it another 3-4 weeks, I might be eating those words. But Fulham at home, different proposition. Fulham against West Ham, they were 1-0 down after like 57 seconds, and they bullied West Ham. They should have scored 2, 3, maybe 4 goals. And Fulham at home, I don't think I'll be tipping anyone to go to Craven Cottage this year and getting away with any confidence. So for me, Fulham to beat West Brom.
OK, well, let's see what price they are then, because presumably you may not need to put this in the app, because you could play this as a single bet, Nige, could you?
Definitely. I think they represent one of the best bets of the weekend here, Fulham at even money. I think they're a huge, huge, huge bet. They're great at home. They know how to beat the lesser teams, and I think West Brom are still going to be a team at a lower end of the table rather than the top end of the table. We know Dembele's gone. We know Dempsey's gone. They've brought in Berbatov. He's going to be, I think, the sign of the season. I think they brought the Greek captain. He's coming to the side. Even money Fulham represents great value. If you look at their record, they're unbeaten in the last 3. They've won 2, and they've drawn the last time they met at Craven Cottage. And I think Fulham will win to nil. I think 1-0, 2-0 Fulham represents great value. Their home form this season, obviously, they've gone to beaten Norwich 5-0. And I think West Brom are on a par with Norwich. And I think even money is a huge, huge bet. West Brom overreaction on what they've seen in 3 or 4 games. But let me tell you something. Fulham at home this season are going to be very, very hard to beat, and even money is definitely the best bet of the weekend for me.
All right, well, we've got some more games to look at, including Sunderland versus Liverpool. Now, Liverpool have made an atrocious start to the season, no other word to describe it, really. Sunderland have been going quite well, got an excellent draw at Arsenal first day of the season, didn't they? This is going to be a tough ask for Brendan Rodgers' team, isn't it?
Yeah, and he gets everything he deserves for me. Hasn't really got a recognised striker. You need a target man when you're going to go away to these places to give yourself a breather. I think Sunderland are massive. I love Sunderland this weekend, and putting them in with Fulham, for me, I think they're 2 home wins.
What do you think the problem is at Liverpool? Because I watched the game against Arsenal, and I can hardly remember a more limp display at home from Liverpool that I've seen in recent years.
Yeah, I thought they were very weak in midfield, to be honest. I think Joe Allen got the ball neat and tidy. But what Arsenal did is they set up and said, well, you just play in front of us, we'll take the ball off you. And then they haven't got the pace or the power to then break. And that's exactly how Arsenal's goals came along. They took the ball off them. Next 2-3 passes, it was in the back of their net. Pepe Reina's struggling. He obviously returns back to the place where he got done by the beach ball.
Yes.
So I just think that there's such a good feel factor at the moment at Sunderland. They are on the up. They will outwork them. I think they'll be too powerful for Liverpool.
OK, well, you can probably have any odds you like on the ball getting off a beach ball this time around. But what are the match odds, Nigel?
Well, the match odds are very, very difficult. I think bookies are actually looking at this game thinking we're going to see equal business. We're going to see money for Liverpool's every week when Liverpool get back. We say on this show they're the most popular backside. They always are. They're always backed. If you're going to back Sunderland at 2-1, I would urge you to leave it to the last minute because the money will come for Liverpool, despite whatever form they are. And people back money. It's the large Asian syndicates. They back Liverpool as though defeat's out of the question. They create more chances than anyone. They hit the woodwork, but they don't win. This 13-10 will shorten. This will be around about 5-4, maybe even 6-5 come kick off. Sunderland will get bigger. There'll be 9-4, 12-5, 5-2. That's the time to back Sunderland. Don't back them out 2-1. The money will come for Liverpool. Personally, my only view on the game is I think under 2.5 goals is an absolute shoo-in. How many times have we heard this before? Me telling under 2.5 goals. I got it right last week, and this is one of my bets of the weekend. Last 6 games, all of them have been under 2.5 goals between Sunderland and Liverpool. We know what Sunderland do. They defend very solidly. Under Martin, they're a very hard team to beat. Liverpool can't score goals. Simple as that. You can't back Sunderland at 2-1. You can't back the draw at 9-4. You can't back Liverpool at 13-10 without any conviction. But under 2.5 goals, you can sit there and watch all the misses, all the Suarez misses going over the bar and enjoy the readies and get it in and have a nice curry on Saturday night.
I love Suarez, but you're right, he doesn't score enough goals, certainly not for Liverpool anyway. Do you agree with Nigel? This is going to be a low-scoring game, Flash?
Yeah, I've got unders here, and I've got 1-0, 2-0, but who knows? It might be Fletcher who can't get into the Scotland side, and they can't score goals, so he might get a hat-trick. I definitely expect Fletcher to score at some stage. He's a top 6 striker for me.
All right, let's have. I think you've got some correct scores, have you, Nigel, for this game?
Yeah, we have, and obviously the favourite is around. Always these kind of matches, the favourite is the draw, 1-1, 11-2. But I don't see where they can score 2 goals in this game. I think the value lies on 1-0 either side. Go for Sunderland 1-0 at 7. Go for Liverpool 1-0 at 6-1, and have a little cheer up. Maybe even back under 1.5 goals. But the favourite's a draw here at 11-2. 1-1. But draw 0-0, 8-1. I wouldn't rule anybody off that. And you can see by the guys in the gallery, the caption, there's not many 3-2s, not many 4-3s in this caption. They're showing you the low scoring games, and that's exactly where you want to go. Liverpool 2-0, 8-1. But it's all about the low scoring backs. So I think Sunderland 1-0 and Liverpool 1-0 at 6-1. But instead of betting your correct score, just stick with your under 1.5, under 2.5 goals, and you won't go wrong.
Okay, nice, thank you. So we seem to be veering towards the home teams for the majority of, even though some of them are big prices.
Yeah, well, again, I think you can't underestimate how difficult it is to go away in the Premiership. I mean, these boys have had like 3 games. Some of them have only been at home for 1 of them, and they'll be looking forward to getting themselves on the board. Southampton, after this week, I would start back in Southampton.
Okay.
I think they play Villa, they play Fulham, they play the sides. People will struggle against Southampton. Southampton may be the worst team in the league. Not many teams will go to some areas and get anything this year.
What is the standout bet? If I said to you, right, you can only bet on 1 Premier League game this weekend, Flash, which one would it be?
Oh, Sunderland at 2-1 to beat Liverpool. Toothless Liverpool. You've just got to be with Sunderland.
And do you apportion any blame to Brendan Rodgers for this?
Yeah,
or is it just what he had to work with when he came in? Because of course he got rid of Carroll.
Well, exactly, and he didn't have to get rid of him. For me, I would have built my team around him. He's England's number 9. He's the future of this country, and yet he walks in and says, "You're not in my plans." Naivety, arrogance, call it what you like, but it's going to shoot himself right in the foot now because he's got Barini, who's got no track record of scoring goals at the top level, and he's got Suarez, whose track record is, "I'll work as hard as possible, but I won't score goals."
Okay. We're going to shift the emphasis briefly onto horse racing because tomorrow's the St Ledger at Doncaster, and it could see history being made because Camelot could become the first horse since Nijinsky in 1970, and I'm just about old enough to remember that, to win the Triple Crown. Very short price. However, a word of caution here, Flash, and this is not me saying, this is Aidan O'Brien, the trainer, who's basically dropped a few hints that a mile and 6 is right on Camelot's limit as far as stamina is concerned. So I'm not sure I'd be rushing to take the 1 to 3.
No, I think it's a watching brief. It's one of them where you hope that you sit there and you watch history being made.
Yeah.
But there again, that means there'll be value elsewhere for someone to run into a place. And if there is any chinks in Camelot's armour, then it might bring in the likes of Main Sequence.
Okay, well, let's have a look at how the market does shape up. And very big odds on this, the unbeaten Camelot.
Yeah, I mean, it is big odds on. And the thing is, punters have now got used to these unbeaten horses. They think they're just going to turn up and win. You know, you look at Frankel, it wins every race in Camelot. But it's a very dangerous game to play. It's a very, very dangerous game. 2 to 5 Camelot here. If I was a bookmaker and I went to the course at Doncaster and I was standing there at St Ledger, the oldest classic in the world, I would lay the 2 to 5 until the cows come home. Even if it wins, even if it doesn't, it's a massive, massive lay. The Ballydor rumours coming out is they're not really that keen on it. They're not. The vibe isn't feeling good. It's massive each way value here. Main Sequence 8 to 1, huge. Michelangelo 12 to 1, Thoughtworthy 10 to 1, huge each way value. But bookies will be very, very careful to land each way. Blue Square, you ring them up and you want £100 each way on this, you might not get it, but you can have whatever you want on Camelot. This is the one the bookies want to get beat, and they have got a great chance to get it beat. Get on Main Sequence each way, get on Michelangelo each way, and take on this favourite.
Yeah, I think that Main Sequence, very briefly, Flash, I don't think there's any stamina issues about him, is there?
No, and he might be the one that goes out, sits on the tail of the leader, kicks on early, and then it might take Camelot a bit of time to get going. And you might even see that, although there's stamina doubts over him, it might be that Camelot actually gets there, doing his best work at the end, because no one knows. He might just get trailed through the race.
And we'll enjoy the race, I think, anyway, whether Camelot wins or loses on Saturday. We're back in a moment. Stay with us. This is the Punter on Sports Tonight. It's your best guide to all the punting action over the weekend. We've moved on to Reading versus Tottenham Hotspur, Flash. Just a couple of places and a single point separate these teams. Neither of them have pulled up any trees. I think this is a really big game for Tottenham.
It is, and if you're a Tottenham fan, then again, London derby or just outside London, you'd want Spurs to be playing Reading. Spurs, they have to perform and just forget everything that they've always been told. Yeah, listen to AVB, but when you go out there on the pitch, play like you did last year and you'll win this game comfortably. I've got this as definitely over 2.5 goals, and I've got it as an away win.
What's been the problem with Spurs so far from what you've seen this season?
Restriction. I think that AVB's come in, he's restricted the movement of Walker on the right, Asuakotu on the left. He's played with only one up front when he's been at home. He's played with 2 holding midfielders. So he's really been so careful, whereas Tottenham are the most carefree team in the Premiership.
Now, I can remember, Butler, when we were in during the summer, when the AVB announcement was made, I said it's a dreadful decision. You said, no, he'll do a terrific job there. Are you ready yet to admit you got it wrong?
I can't remember that. Anyway, going on to the game, I think it's an absolute massive game for Tottenham. Already early part of the season. Let's be fair. Listen, they're 3 games in, Trev. I know you're an Arsenal fan. They're 3 games in. Let's see where he gets his players, gets his team. Let's see what happens. Give him time. 3 games. And that is why 21-20 is an absolute massive overreaction. This is a team that will finish 4th in the Premier League last season, missed out on the Champions League place, absolutely battered them. It's a team that come from nowhere in the Championship and won it when I'm winning it. 21-20 Tottenham here is absolute huge value. Bookies love Tottenham at the moment. They failed to beat West Brom at home. They failed to beat Norwich at home. But I tell you what, they've gone mental at this price. You know, what price would you have been start of the season? If this was the first game of the season, you would be 4-6 Tottenham away from home against Reading, without a shadow of a doubt. 21-20, it's just huge overreaction. Gareth Bale, the likes they've got, Adebayor against Reading. Reading? Come on, let's be fair. 21-20 is an absolute bet. The draw 12-5, Reading 5-2. You saw when Reading went to Chelsea, they scored a couple of goals. They're fit side. They'll probably threaten. There'll be a goal threat to Tottenham on the weekend. But Tottenham at 21-20, there is overreactions galore this weekend, and this is where you go. 21-20 Tottenham. Don't read AVB in 3 games. Give him time.
I'm enjoying it at the moment, I have to say. Is Nigel being a bit disrespectful to Reading there? I think they're a slightly better side than he thinks.
Yeah, they're okay. The big thing I would say is Reading away from home, once they find their feet and they get up to pace, will be more dangerous than they will be at home.
Right.
Now, they're a very good counter-attacking side who keep going for 90 minutes. Spurs, if they hold a high line, then there's going to be no chance for them to counter-attack because the ball over the top should always run through to the likes of Friedel. So for me, I think Spurs will pen them in early and they'll have the quality to break them down.
Well, let's check the correct score market then in this game. I mean, you seem to be inferring, Nigel, that you reckon Spurs will win comfortably.
I do, and I fancy goals. I do think Reading will score. I mean, we've got the caption here, 1-0, 2-0, and the likes of that. I don't think you want to look at those kind of markets. I think when it goes to 3-1s, the 2-1s, maybe even the 4-1s. I think there's goals in the game. I think both teams to score is a fantastic bet in this market. 1-0 Reading is at 8-1. The favourite, again, is the draw at 1-1, which is always the favourite of the bookies, 6-1, and the Spurs 1-0 win is 6-1. But I think if you're going to have a 5 or a 10 on the game, you need to look at bigger scores. I think 3-1 around about 14-1, or maybe even 4-1 at about a 33-1 shot. I think that's where you want to be. But I definitely think Reading will score, but I also think Tottenham will score a lot more than Reading.
I think one of the issues for Spurs, Flash, has been the absence, obviously, of Modric and Van der Vaart. I know Modric didn't score too many, but Van der Vaart did, and the creation of both of them, something that isn't very easy to replace.
Yeah, well, it's definitely not easy to replace, especially when you change the whole philosophy on how you're going to play, because then it becomes no comparison. You've got the likes of Dembele, will score goals, Sigurdsson will score goals, but you haven't got the person, Modric, who's going to be your little can opener and your feeder, because who's he going to have in there? He had 2 holding midfielders at home. So at the moment, your guess is as good as mine. I think the goals have got to come from the overlapping fullbacks.
And as far as Reading are concerned, what do you make of the signing of Pogrebniak? Because I thought he looked good at Fulham last season.
Yeah, very good, and he's been very shrewd, McDermott. I've got a lot of time for him. I mean, he took Mariappa, who was the Watford captain, very good, can play right back, play centre half. He took Guthrie from Newcastle. For me, Pogrebniak could be absolutely anything. The big question mark is that he takes his foot off the gas when he gets settled.
Well, he might be a punter potentially in the first goal scorer market. How do we bet here, Nigel?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the favourites are dominated by the Tottenham players. Adebayor and Defoe head the market 11-2. I think Adebayor, I personally fancy him to score more ahead of Defoe. Defoe might be tired after playing a full 90 minutes for England at the weekend, first time ever in 51 games. But bringing out 15-2, I don't really think he's that great player. Fulham last season, I think he was found out after 3 or 4 games of the season. Clint Dempsey, another guy who wasn't found out at Fulham last season, a proper player. 15-2 makes a big value. I think Dembele, around about 12s or something like that, 14s. Well, I think see goals in the game. I think Dembele to score any time in the match, not the first goal, not the last goal, but around about 3-1 to score a goal. He's played a much more advanced role for Tottenham. He could be a threat. Adebayor and Defoe head the market. Podreniak, I'm not so sure if he's as good as you boys rate.
OK, well, time will tell. The Monday game this week, there is a Monday game, Everton versus Newcastle at Goodison. It's an 8 o'clock kickoff on Monday. We usually see Everton down the bottom early on. They're notoriously bad starters, but they've won 2 of their first 3, and they've looked a really good side from what I've seen.
They've looked so balanced, and they've got goals in them as well. I look at this game and I thought 1-0 Everton, playing Newcastle. Newcastle needs to perform, maybe 1-1. Then I look at Newcastle's front line and think, could be 2-1 to Newcastle. So I've had to put a cross against the whole game and just say, I think it'll be a draw because I cannot split them at all. There's so many pros and cons. Everton don't let him in too many goals. Newcastle score goals.
And we mentioned that Newcastle were strangely subdued and very disappointing against Chelsea.
Yeah, they were, and I don't know, there might be many factors for that. The big downside for Newcastle is they hear that Tim Krul might be out for the next 3 or 4 games. That's a big blow. Simpson went off with hamstring a couple of weeks ago. That'd be another big blow. But I just keep coming down to this game ending in a draw. OK,
well, let's see what price the draw is with the Butler, because it's one of those games, if you get it right with any of the 3, you're going to get rewarded, Nigel.
Well, it's like any game. You get it right within the 3, you get rewarded.
But odds against.
Odds against. I'm joking. I'm being
what are the odds on?
Everton 4-6.
Wow.
5-6. I tell you what, this will be the best bet team of the weekend. There will be money. The big syndicates, the Asian money starting to come into the marketplace. Everton will be around about 8-11 to win this game, no doubt about it. Newcastle, not only without Krul, rumours that Colaccini's not going to play, Tiote's not going to play. Their whole spine of their team is missing. Everton at home, under the lights. You saw what he did to Manchester United. You see how good they were last season. Fellaini, unplayable. You've got a passion, a team, a belief. Under lights, Monday night, you look at Everton's record. It's better than any other team in the Premier League. 5-6 Everton. Forget the draw, forget flash. You say to me, sit on the fence. 12-5 the draw. Not for me. I'm going all in Everton. Everton win this game. They win it to 0. I think they win 1-2, maybe even 3. Fellaini's unplayable under the lights. They have got something about them this season. They're going places. Newcastle, I think, are bottom half team this season. I think they're a side they're going to struggle. I think Pardew's going to be found out. I think that they know how to defend against Barr and Cisse this season. I think they're a team you oppose at all costs. This match is being built up on probably 2 or 3 games worth of form. But I tell you what, Everton done a business on them last season and they'll do the business again this season. 5-6, get on.
I tell you what, you'll be telling me the world's flat in a minute. I can't have that at all. 100-30 Newcastle. I think that's a big price.
Yeah, and as you were saying it, I wrote down Barr, Cisse, Caballé, Ben Arthur. They're 4 players that just score out of nothing. And I can see that Everton are maybe dominating the game, chance after chance, goes a begging, next minute they're 2-0 down. And that's why you just cannot oppose Newcastle. I think Newcastle 100-30.
Yeah.
They are massive. I think they'll trade shorter than that at some stage.
I can't believe Everton are odds on. Anyway, first goal scorer market. And we know you're going to tip up an Everton player, Nigel, but let's have a look how they figure in the market.
Well, I'm not going to tip Everton. I'm looking for value. And I just think that the value is with Everton in this game. I think they're going to be backed. I know they're going to be backed, so don't worry about that. There won't be 5-6, there'll be 4-6. I can 100% guarantee you that. Anyway, Jelic is the favourite 5-1. I think he's going to have a fantastic season. He's the main man at Everton. He makes everything sing. Morales scored a couple of goals in the Capital One Cup. We're quite sure what he's going to do against Newcastle. Fellaini 13-2, too short for me. Massive overreaction to Fellaini. He's not that price. He's not a 13-2 shot. And what I think you want to look at more is Jagielka, your centre half, that kind of stuff. Because we know how they're great on the set pieces. They're getting in a lot of corners, free kicks. I think Jagielka could be a good, decent bet around about 25-133. Cisse tops the betting for Newcastle. No goal scorer around about 9-1. I think Everton win the game pure and simply. If I was looking for a first goal scorer, I'd look at someone in the midsection around about a 14-1, 16-1 shot. And yes, it would be an Everton blow.
Well, I know you got the winner against United, but Fellaini at 13-2, that's ridiculous. He's a goal maker rather than a goal taker, Flash, isn't he? Do you think there'll be many goals in this game?
Again, it's one of them where you can understand if Everton win 1-0, you'd say that, you could see that. If it's a draw 1-0, you can see that. And if it's a 2-2, 3, anything can happen with these two sides. Yeah. They're two sides that cannot be trusted. You cannot put your hand on your heart and say that I fancy Everton, I fancy the draw, I fancy Newcastle. At the value, Newcastle, I'd have to lay Everton and take Newcastle and the draw.
OK, let's have some correct score betting then, please, Nigel.
Yeah, very high-scoring games statistically. Last 6 games, been 20 goals involving these two sides at Everton in the Goodison Park fixtures. There's been 3-1s, 4-1s, and mostly all the time, Everton have got the advantage. I think, again, we're highlighting the 1 or 2 nils. I think there could be goals in this game. I think it could be a very, very interesting game. I agree with Flash. I think from a trading perspective, you could back Newcastle, you maybe get shorter, get in, get out. I'm looking around about 3-2, 3-1, around about 14, 16, around that kind of price. But Everton 1-0 heads the market at 5-1. Surprisingly, we've seen the trend always being for 1-1's the favourite. Not on this case. Bookies expecting Everton, their rearguard action to be strong and win 1-0. I disagree with that. I think Newcastle may score, but I think there's goals. I think 3-1, 3-2, around about 14-1, 20-1, that kind of price. Go for a respective punt on those. 1-0 favourite, 5-1. If you fancy Newcastle, the best outcome is a 1-0 win. That's an 8-1 chop with the bookies. And Newcastle win 2-1 there at 12-1. But I do expect goals. I do expect overs. Unlike, whenever I say overs, people have always been a bit apprehensive. I did say overs last week in one game and it was correct. When I do go overs, sometimes I know it's a shock, but I do go overs in this game. I do fancy overs. 0-0, no value at 8-1. I fancy a few goals. I'm going to vote for Everton to win 3-1 or 3-2.
Well, as you're tipping up the overs, Nige, tell us what price that is, because it's a bet that lots of people like to have now, the under-overs market, isn't it?
Well, it's a great bet because what you do is you have no interest in the game. You just want to cheer goals. And what a fantastic thing to do. Go and watch a game of football and cheer goals. Not like me, go and watch football. I don't want goals. I went to the game, it was 6-6, but I've done my money. It's sort of, you want to cheer goals. And over 2.5 goals, even money. I think that's wrong. I think it should be the other way around. I think under 2.5 goals at 4 to 5 should be the underdog. I think it should be the even money shot. And over 2.5 goals should be the favourite. The stats scream out goals in this game. There's 3-1s, 3-2s, 2-2s, big goal scoring events, and over 3.5 at 11 to 5, maybe for a little bit of a speculative punt. But I'm going to go over 2.5 goals at even money because I think that should be the 4 to 5 shot.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think there will be goals. I just think that Newcastle will get more of them. Anyway, when we come back, the Champions League returns, of course, in midweek. We'll be concentrating on that and also having a look at the 2020 World Cup cricket, that is, of course, and that starts next Tuesday. Don't go anywhere. You're watching the Punter on Sports Tonight. And gloriously, the Champions League returns on Tuesday. Chelsea, of course, are the defending champions. Still can't quite work out how they won it, but they did. But there are some really intriguing games, Flash, this week, and the best of which has got to be Real Madrid versus Manchester City.
Yeah, if ever you wanted to get off to a flying start for Man City, obviously they would expect to get through their group anyway.
Yep.
I think that they are obviously favourites or second favourites. And if they can go to Real Madrid, who have not started off well, by the way, they've not kept clean sheets. They got beat, I think, against Getafe a couple of weeks ago.
Yes, they did.
I think Man City could actually go there and do a job and set a stamp out straight away. But if they're not, they could get wounded for the rest of the competition. Let's hope they learned the lesson of last season where they were done at Bayern, weren't they, early in the group, and that really hit them hard and they couldn't recover. Yeah, and also when they played against Napoli. And they were held at home, weren't they? Yeah, and then when they went away, I think they went 1-0 up and got beat 3-1. Yeah. It was just crazy because they didn't realise that actually winning 1-0 or drawing 0-0 is a good result on the road. I think against Real Madrid, I think that a lot of the players, they're international players, this will be a real ding-dong. And for me, I've got to go Real Madrid, but only because they're at home. OK, well, I've actually backed Manchester City to win this group because they're 2-1. Real Madrid big odds on, as I imagine they will be for this particular game, Nigel.
Not sure as you expect, really. I mean, I think Manchester City naivety last season was their downfall. I mean, and obviously it could have actually cost them. They played catch-up on the Premier League title, the last kick of the game. That could have been the problems that started off their whole campaign. But 8-13 Real Madrid, I think it's an absolute massive price. I think Mancini will go here this season and not lose games like this. And look at his tactics. It's all about the team he picks and the style he picks. And if he goes their way and he goes to go and defend, he's in trouble. He has to go there and give them a go. And I don't think he will do that on the back of what happened last season. You saw how they were against Napoli, you said, and you saw they were Bayern Munich. I think he'll go there and be scared to lose. And I think that will be his downfall. And I think 8-13 Madrid in a packed house, whatever they've done, League, forget about it. This is the team. Mourinho against Manchester City, perhaps looking for taking over the job next season. 8-13 Real Madrid is a massive price. The draw 11-4, Manchester City 4-1. I couldn't bet Manchester City at 4-1 with any of your money. I tell you what, there will be people who want to do it, but they won't win, because I think the whole thing is all about Mancini's tactics. His team he sets out, and if he goes defensively, it's the worst thing he could possibly do. He has to go and take the game to Real Madrid, and if he does, I don't think he will do that. And for that reason, I think Real Madrid at 8-13 are tremendous value.
It will be fascinating to see exactly what team he picks. I'm kind of with the draw, I think, at 11-4. The other Tuesday game, Flash, is Montpellier versus Arsenal. Montpellier, who was surprise winners of the French League last season. I'm not a big fan of the French League. I reckon my boys under 16s would finish halfway up it. It's the kind of game that Arsenal in the past, though, they've struggled. They need to at least not lose.
I've seen Arsenal winning maybe 2-0. I mean, Montpellier, they rode on the back of Giroud scoring every touch last year. Them goals have gone. I see Arsenal going there, keeping a clean sheet and picking them off, maybe one in the first half and one in the last 15 when Montpellier get a bit desperate. So I've gone for Arsenal to win 2-0, but I'd certainly want to lay Montpellier.
OK, these prices will be interesting. Are Arsenal favourites in this game, Nigel?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is about this game is it's going to be on the back of the Real Madrid game, so there's going to be betting is going to come through. They are favourites, they're 6-5 favourites. It's an interesting one, isn't it, really? I mean, these are the kind of games, you say they sort of struggle in these games before. I think these are the kind of games that Arsenal have always done a job. I'm not quite sure whether they've got the players to do it anymore. I'm not quite sure. I just don't see where the goals come from. We know Van Persie's not there. I think the draw here at 9-4 represents great value. I think at home, we know they can beat these kinds of teams. Away from home, would they be happy for a draw? I'm not. I think they would. I think 9-4, the draw represents great value here. Montpellier, French League, very, very poor. Haven't started off the great shakes. 21-10. Very difficult. You've got to look at the games this weekend. You've got Chelsea playing Juventus. You've got Real Madrid playing Manchester City. This game, in betting terms, is going to be very, very, very small money bet on. And the thing is, sometimes you've got to look at this. It's a bet for me that in running. I think after 15, 25 minutes, 30 minutes, you'll see how both teams set out. And I think with the defensive thing under Steve Bruce, how organised they are, I think the draw here at 9-4 could be a bet. So I think it could fizzle out into a non-entity when all the headlines are being done elsewhere.
He makes a valid point, I think, about Arsenal's lack of a goal scorer to replace Van Persie. I can't see any of the Arsenal players getting 20 goals this season myself.
Yeah, I mean, but if you get 3 or 4 that get 15, then that's just good. I think that Arsenal are set up for Europe brilliantly this year. They can interchange. They've got 5 or 6 players that can play in any of the positions across midfield. They've got obviously Arteta, Diaby, Cafola, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Walcott, Giroud, Podolski. The list is endless, and for me, 6-5, that's a moral.
All right. Wednesday's games. I'm actually going to the Bridge to cover Chelsea-Juventus, and I'm really looking forward to it. Juve, of course, who won the Italian League last year without losing a single game. They've got Nicolas Bentner on loan for their sins. Not sure he'll play. This looks an intriguing... This won't be easy for the European champions, will it?
No, because we look at the game and we look like the history of Chelsea. They're the Champions League holders against... probably one of the most famous teams in the world, Juve, who are then coming back to be like the old lady always was. But what Chelsea are going to turn up? Chelsea got a tough game at the weekend against Queen's Park Rangers. What side? They can't afford injuries. They've got rid of like 5 or 6 players that I would have thought would be better than players they've actually got. So for me, Chelsea-Juve, it's a watching brief, and I would certainly not want to be with Chelsea.
I reckon the bookies are their Butler, aren't they? They're be odds on Chelsea, are they?
Well, they're going to be favourites, obviously, for the game. I don't know if they're going to be as short as odds on favourites. 10-11 for some bookmakers, even money with other bookmakers around about that kind of price. Double your money, take your choice. The thing is here, Flash has absolutely said, you look at teams prior to the weekend when they're going to the Champions League, they're always worth opposing. And that's why we said earlier about Queen's Park Rangers. We didn't make the point at the time that Chelsea were worth betting, Chelsea were worth opposing because they have a Champions League game. The thing is about Chelsea, are reliant on Fernando Torres. One injury to him, one injury up front, they are in serious trouble. Juventus are 14-5. I couldn't personally back Juventus over 4-5. I look at these prices here and I think exactly right what Flash says. Watch the game, enjoy the game. But again, I'm going for my old strategy. I'm going to go under 2.5 goals here. I don't see Chelsea winning very convincing, maybe 1 or 2-0. They like to get through, and the team, the Juventus, coming to the European Championships. Some of the European Championships, turn them over at their home goal. That's what they want to do. And I think, again, this could fizzle out. And I'm going to go sit on the fence, call it whatever you want. So have a go at me, say, oh, like that. It doesn't matter. Pound notes, pay the bills. Exactly. The draw, you say, I'll sit on your fence. I'm not interested. The draw, 12-5. Bet for me.
All right. I mean, Juve have lost Del Piero. He's finally gone after all those years. Brilliant servant he was for them. Looking at their strikers, I mean, Vucinic and Quagliarella, I'm not sure they are genuinely world class, are they? Not for me.
No. I think what they've got at Juve at the moment is a team and a squad that go together, and obviously the momentum's flying high, but if ever you wanted to test yourself, and this is why I think this is one of the games where you just keep your hands in your pockets and you watch the games, because all of a sudden you'll see how strong. These are without doubt the strongest side in Italy. Okay, so now if they come on here and they get roasted 4, then you know that you can oppose other Italian sides. If they come here, I think it'll be like the Italia of old. I think that they'll close up shop and look for a 0-0 or maybe grab one late on. Yeah,
well, if you do fancy you, but they're 13-10 to win the group, and Chelsea odds on, so that might be worth looking at. The final English team, of course, Man United. They're up against Galatasaray on Wednesday. Should be straightforward, shouldn't it?
Home win. Yeah. Simple as that. A home win, goals, and they'll rest players with half an hour to go.
What do you think, Nigel? We can't see United not qualifying for the group stage for a second straight season, can we?
I don't think you can, but last year's form really wouldn't make them a proper betting proposition. They come a cropper in games like this. They're 1-4 to win this. I mean, they're the same price to win this game as they are to win at the weekend and against Wigan. And if Wigan play Galatasaray on a neutral ground, you have to make Galatasaray favourite. So, you know, I personally think as a bookmaker, Galatasaray probably at 92 or the draw at 92, and Galatasaray 91 represent a bit of value because, you know, I'll ask you the question. If Galatasaray play Wigan Flash, who would be favourites? You've got to be with Galatasaray.
Where at?
But no, on a neutral ground, you've got Wigan, Man United are 4 on to win at home to Galatasaray today. They're 4 on at the weekend to beat Wigan. If Wigan played Galatasaray, who would be favourites?
I think Wigan probably will be, but it'd be
really?
even money.
I'd say a choice of 2, yeah.
Really? Oh, well, anyway. That's where you're deluded. Galatasaray and Wigan, not a problem. The Galatasaray are in the same league as Wigan. Galatasaray win this game. Wigan are in the same league as Galatasaray. 1-4. There's no comparison between the two. If you're looking for an edge, you've got to compare the two of them. And I think Galatasaray are better inside than Wigan. I think Manchester United will win, but I think they'll beat Wigan at the weekend 4-0 and they'll win 2-0 here. So Galatasaray will beat Wigan.
All right, cheers, Nigel. We're going to move to cricket because the 2020 World Cup begins next week. Starts on Tuesday. England come into the tournament on Friday, where they play the might of Afghanistan. It's basically 4 groups of 3. England with Afghanistan and India. First 2 qualify, so that shouldn't be a problem. But we were talking a little bit earlier, Flash, and you could make a case for about 6 or 7 different teams to win this.
Yeah, because they've all got guns. They've all got batsmen that can destroy you. They've all got deaf bowlers. They've all got part-time bowlers who take the pace off the ball. I mean, you've got to be looking at the subcontinent countries like your Pakistan under Afridi and Gul, and then you've got Sri Lanka with Tilakaratne, Dilshan, Sangakkara. I mean, they go, and the list is endless. But one outsider, and that's Chris Gow and the West Indies. The West Indies, they just have fun, and they can destroy you or be destroyed. So that's why I expect them to be a big price.
All right, well, I'm fascinated to see the market here. I would make India favourites, but narrowly. What do the bookies say, Nigel?
Well, they are the favourites as well. Very big favourites. I mean, it shows you how competitive the market is. 9-2 India. It's obviously in Sri Lanka. They're a 5-1 shot. But is it me, or does these cricket tournaments come round every 3 weeks? I mean, it seems like every tournament we get won this World Cup 2020, this World Cup that. Well, they must be. It's a total different joke. But the one thing I do like about England in the 2020, they've got a guy in the side called Butler. And you've always got to back the Butler.
Yeah, he brings the drinks.
He's got to be on the Butler. But anyway, Sri Lanka, I think Sri Lanka at 5-1, home advantage. You know, they know how to bat. They've got a batting array of talent. They've got bowlers who can take wickets. I agree with Flash. West Indies not on the caption, around about a 10-1 shot. They're the value. But one thing won't happen. England 8-1 cannot and will not win this competition.
Probably not, because they don't have Kevin Peterson. Unfortunately, the time has beaten us again. Hope you've enjoyed watching. Thanks to Flash.
Cheers.
And to Nigel. Wrong as he is on so many things, but there we are. We'll do it all over again next Friday. Until then, enjoy the weekend sport. We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.